Let's take a look at Wednesday. Who are the streaming options? Who do we need to pay attention to? Who's safe? Who's risky? Michael Bolton, the safest man ever.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and forget raw dogging flights, I'm raw dogging driving. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up for the newsletter over there. It's the best newsletter for your favorite team, and you can also subscribe over here to the old YouTube, to the audio. You can do both of those. In fact, I know that if there's one thing better than a single bang, it's a double bang. So why don't you do it? Hit the comments, hit the subscribe. Let's keep these numbers of the subscriptions pushing. We still want to hit the 100K. Not going to hit it this year, obviously. Or maybe, unless there's going to be like a 17,000 influx of people. But we're still pushing. We're still aiming. All right, we're talking about Wednesday's games. It is World Maths Day. You'll notice the S at the end of maths there because I speak correct English. So that's what we're going to put on that. It's World Maths Day, so get your calcs out and get ready. Your TI-82s, your 83s maybe. What's the new model? I don't know. Shout out to Texas Instruments. Let's get into the schedule. Let's talk about a few things. And I'm going to introduce a couple of new little features to this show. Are they features? No, they're just little things that I'm going to add in, and we'll see whether they work or not. And maybe they should have been something I did earlier on. But you know what? Don't have a time machine. If I did, I wouldn't go back and change streaming shows. Let's take a look at where the back-to-backs lie. There's only one team heading into Wednesday on the back-to-back. We know that. It is the New York Knickerbockers, and there's probably only going to be one stream guy there, and it's Cameron Payne, but that's also assuming that Juice McBride is out, because Mitchie Robinson's not going to play both, and then you got Tyler Kolek, who might not play both, and Precious Achiuwa, who might not play both. It's pretty rough. But Wednesday to Thursday, there are three teams. The Pacers, who have a plethora of safer options. The Lakers, who maybe not a plethora, but a few safer options there. And the Wizards, who, the Wizards. What's going to happen there? That's a really good question, and I wish I was able to give you the correct answer as to what they were going to do, but it is going to be very, very rough in terms of predicting how that stuff all goes down. Let's take a look at chunks the rest of the week, Wednesday through Sunday, which players have got 5 games that are all available. Not 5 games, they play 3 games in 5 nights, and they're available in over 70% of Yahoo leagues. So some of them are going to be a little bit risky. We've got Adem Bona there. The Philadelphia 76ers play 2 of the key games for them, or 2 really key games for them for the tank race. They play the Wizards. These are the 2 teams that absolutely are desperate to lose every game. They have to lose every game. So that's on Wednesday. That is an absolute corker. And then they play the Raptors on Sunday, which is another one of those games that if the Raptors lose that, and the Philadelphia 76ers win it, well, they're the teams that are competing for that 5 slot. So Toronto needs to lose that. That's going to be an outrageous game as well. Is Bona the guy that is able to step up into larger roles in games they want to lose? Maybe. I guess it's possible. We'll see. I've got Aaron Nesmith there. That's the safety of the Pacers. Jared Butler, we could get nursed at any point. That sounds rough. We could put Butler into a starting role. They could go back to Doughton. I don't know. But Butler has had that role the majority of the time. Just got interrupted by Obi barking. You know, there was a couple of birds that had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to fly past our front door. So, yeah, you know, big issue stuff. Yeah, Jared Butler is interesting, but I don't know. Jackson Hayes, relatively secure. There's been some foul trouble games, and his production is down. With LeBron returning, they're able to go small a little bit more. So just bear that in mind. But the 3 games in 5 nights works. And then you get one of the real risky ones, and that's the Raptors and Johnny Mobo. We know how horrifically bad their schedule is in terms of, you know, the trustworthiness of how they're going to approach the games. They play Brooklyn, Charlotte, and Philadelphia. And the Brooklyn and Philadelphia ones are the games they just absolutely must lose to keep themselves down in the tank race. So it is risky. And then you've got Andy Nembhard, who, again, much like Neesmith, is quite safe. The floor is there, and the 3 games in 5 nights works really, really well. If you want to look at 5s and 2s over the next 7 nights, are there anyone with a great schedule or a bad schedule? And yeah, there are. There are 2 bad ones. It's the Pistons and the Pelicans. It's 2 games, 7 nights. So before you run to add Keon Brooks Jr., shout out to the double Onyxers out there, who amazingly apparently is available on ESPN. Before you run to look at even Kelly Olynyk, Eve Misi, Kala Makovic, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins. 2 games in 7 nights does not cut it for any of these players. On the Pistons, hey, we might have Hardaway missing games. I don't know if he's coming back or not. Cade Cunningham, I think he's fine. But, are you really adding Marcus Sasser, Dennis Schroeder? Are you holding on to Asar Thompson? The answer to all those questions is no. You do them for single game streams, but if you're looking for longer term stuff, it just doesn't exist as a thing. And this is what I wanted to bring in. Let me know if you are watching live or if you are watching after the fact, or even if you're on Spotify listening audio, you can go leave a comment. Is this part handy? I'm going to do a 10-day/2-way contract tracker for the players playing on Wednesday, just so you've got an idea. If you go to pick them up, what is the value of them? I'm not going to do it for every single 2-way player on every team. I'm going to do it for the guys who have been part of rotations, who are at least somewhat considered viable in certain fantasy leagues. And it's going to be focused on a certain few teams. But these are the numbers before Wednesday's game. Jeff Doughton Jr. has 3 games left on his contract. He's got a 2-way contract. Remembering, though, Philadelphia can convert one of these guys if they choose to. They can just convert the contract to a full-time contract. They may or they may not. I don't know. They don't have to worry about playoff eligibility, clearly. So Jeff Doughton's got 3 games left. Jalen Hood-Schifino has 7 games left on his 2-way contract for Philadelphia. Alex Reese, who's been getting backup big man minutes, and he was inactive yesterday when Boner returned. He's got 5 games left. And then they signed a 10-day contract to Marcus Bagley, who, I know the 10-day contracts aren't based on games, but according to where the schedule lies, he has 4 games that he can play. Now, he can be signed to a second 10-day contract after that. And as far as I can tell, they have not re-signed Chuma Okeke onto a second 10-day. At the moment, he is currently not on their roster. Same with O'Shea Brissett. Both of those guys not on the roster. Now, Okeke could be re-signed, I believe, but he has not yet. So just be aware of that. And if he does come back, then he'd be playing, I think he'd have 5 games available to play on the second 10-day. But at the moment, I am basing this on the fact that Chuma Okeke is not a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. Marcus Bagley's got 4. In Toronto, this man has played 1 game in the last 2 weeks. It was an absolute banger. If you look at per game fantasy value over the last 2 weeks, Jared Rhoden's the number 1 player because he had 1 absolutely crazy game and he hasn't played since. He has 7 games left on his contract. He can be converted as well if the Raptors choose to do that. The Raptors also, we've been getting starts out of Colin Castleton. His 10-day contract, his second one, has expired. And the understanding is that he will not be re-signed. They will get somebody else in to cycle through another 10-day. So that is where we're at with that. I don't know who that player is going to be. That was the report from Michael Grange up in Toronto. But we're working on the fact at the moment that Chuma Okeke does not play for Philadelphia and Colin Castleton does not play for Toronto. I have no word on Okeke, but the understanding is Castleton will not be a member of the Raptors. So that's that. Rhoden's got 7 left. And then in Washington, who are going to be, again, tanking their asses off, Jalen Martin is a player. He was formerly on Brooklyn. He's got claimed by the Wizards. He's got 8 games left. And he's had a couple of 25, 26-minute games. And that's probably all the relevant 2-way guys, I would say. I hope that was useful. Injury statuses. Last game, the Sixers rested Quentin Grimes. Why do I keep screwing that up? Quentin Grimes. They play the Wizards on Wednesday. Do you think that he will rest in that one? I don't know. He's not on the injury report, so that's a W. But what are they going to do minutes-wise? James Harden sprained his ankle late for the Clippers. He's claimed he was okay, but we will see whether that is something that goes on. D'Angelo Russell has missed 2 in a row for the Nets with ankle soreness. I'm going to work on the projections, assuming that he is out as they play the Raptors. And then there's the Raptors guys who are going to be egregious. They are going to bench guys in the fourth quarter. These starters will not play 30 minutes a night. Last game, here's what we actually have. Emmanuel Quickley has been ruled out for rest Okay, so quickly was on, off, on, and now off again. RJ Barrett missed the last game for rest. And Emmanuel, who's the other one? Oh, Jakob Poeltl is also out for rest. So that has been confirmed. That Poeltl is out and Quickly is out. Barrett and Barnes, I believe, will be available as they rotate these guys on and off. But even if Barrett and Barnes play, they're not touching 30 minutes. They're just not going to. They need to lose this game. Nikola Jokic has been out for a long time, obviously. Just one of those absolutely unlucky things. You draft him, and a lot of the reason that people would have given for Jokic, not only that he's awesome, but it's like, I know I can trust him, he never gets hurt. But he's hurt. Like, it happens. And part of the problem with people that you seem to think that there's a lot more people getting hurt now, and it is true, there's a lot more guys injured, is there are teams that are preparing for the playoffs with 2.5 weeks to go. And after you've played 70 games for the season, this stuff accumulates. Injuries build up. Fatigue builds up. And you need to get those injuries right. And this is the time to do it. And that's part of the problem with this time of year. Aaron Gordon, I expect to play. He sat the last game. It was a back-to-back. I don't really think there's any worry about him being available. And then we've got 3 more here. Important ones. Damian Lillard with the calf soreness that turned into a calf strain. And Glenn Rivers didn't give a very medical-based response to questions about it. It does not seem to me as if he will be available on Wednesday. So I think that Dame is out on Wednesday, but anything could happen there. Jayson Tatum sprained his ankle and didn't play the fourth quarter of the Celtics last game. There is absolutely no reason for them to push him. I would be very, very surprised if Tatum plays on Wednesday, and then he's got 1 game on Saturday. If we get any inkling that he is out on Wednesday, and this is your final week, then he is a drop. He is a drop. You don't hold Jayson Tatum for 1 game over 5 days. That is just burning a roster spot, if that is what we find out. Because he could just sit out Saturday anyway, if that is your final week. The other one there is Sam Hauser, who the reason that's important, he's not important as a general rule, but he played 39 minutes the game before, and he sat on a back-to-back. He's got back problems. But if Tatum's out, and Brown's still banged up, Hauser's got the opportunity there. So we just need to pay a little bit of attention to that. We're going to come back and talk streaming. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by the Game Time app. There is nothing that's like watching sports live. It's so much better than watching it on TV for nearly every sport. But the atmosphere, everything's there. And getting tickets, we don't want that to be a pain. We don't want that to be a hassle. We want it to be easy. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluffs, shows you only the best deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. You get the super deals as well, which Game Time Picks highlights, giving you the best bang for your buck. You got the seat views before you buy. You've got the lowest price guarantee, no surprise fees as well. All of that so you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Before we get into the streams, I just want to, I give impressions of things that I see throughout the season. And one thing I've got certain things that I focus on and I see repeated a lot. I'm seeing this a lot this season with the way that people respond to Discourse. And I don't know why this is the case. I'm not here to figure out the reasoning behind it. I'm here to see what I see. And it's about the way that people respond to things that I say and what anyone says. There seems to be an understanding or a general assumption that when someone says something that there's literally it can only be one of 2 things. Everything is a binary outcome. Hey, I don't think Donovan Clingan's very good. Oh my God. How can you? He's a young player. He's a good prospect. He couldn't be good in the future. Yeah, cool. But I just said I don't think he's very good now. Or I talk about Josh Giddey saying, hey, these numbers are fake. Right? He's not going to be able to continue these numbers. And then someone wrote a comment, which again, I appreciate this comment because it's funny as well. And they're like, if Giddey averaged 17, 9, and 8 for a full season, Josh still wouldn't believe. And the difference with that is like, but I would. But the thing is there that 17, 9, and 8 is very different to what he's doing now. And me saying that I think that what Josh Giddey is doing now is fake and can't continue doesn't mean that I don't think that he can be a top 50 player. It means I think he can't be a top 5 player. That there are differences there. Like the Vucevic thing. I didn't say that he was terrible and should be out of the league and should be dropped in fantasy leagues. I said, this man is not a top 10 player. He's in the 55 to 75 range, which is fine and mid. And when the shooting dropped off, that's exactly where he is. Right? That's the zone that he is. So me saying, hey, this is fake. It's not going to happen. He's a sell high. Don't do this. He's not going to hold at that level. And then when you drop off and you go there, it doesn't mean that you go from the best to unplayable. It's all sliding scale stuff. So just understand that when I am talking and when a lot of people talk, when we're saying things, if I say, hey, this won't hold, it doesn't go 100 to 0. It goes 100 to 80 or 100 to 75 or 75 to 50. It's all little sliding scales. So if Josh Giddey averaged 17, 9, and 8 for a season, that's solid. That's the 50th best player. And someone said, yeah, but what if he then shoots 46 from the field and 1.3 steals? Would you admit that he's fine? Then that is like literally exactly what you expect him to do. And that is what those numbers are. But what he's doing now has zero shot of holding. It doesn't mean that he can't be good for fantasy. It doesn't mean that he can't be a useful player. It's just about levels to all of this stuff. And I think that's the way we'd look at it. Everything is levels. It's not good or bad, usable or not. It's not how really any of that stuff should work. And I think that there is so much binary view of things. It's either good, bad. Like that's really not how we should be approaching any of this stuff. And when we talk about things rising back up or things falling off, it's not falling off to a dreadful level. It's like just leveling out. It's becoming where they sort of should be versus incredible spikes or incredible dips. And I go, yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of get that out because it happens so often. The assumption that me saying Josh Giddey can't do this, which is the one at the moment, people then assume, well, why you think he can't be a top 60 player? No, I think he can't be the number 1 player. I think he can't be a top 10 player. I think he can't be a top 15 player. I think he's not going to be a 51% shooter from 3. I don't think none of those things are real. Can he be a guy that is a top 50 guy, a top 60 player? Yeah, very, very easily. I think I had him projected 65th or something this season. Not a problem with that at all. It's all about the nuance around those things. Sorry for taking up your time with that, but I do think it's important to understand in the way that I approach things and the way that you approach things that we understand that there is different levels to everything. There's different little approaches here, and saying one thing won't hold doesn't mean that it then ratchets down to a third of the previous production. It's not really how we look at it. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but that's okay. Sense-making legend. Let's look at streams. Who are the Points League streamers that we're going to take a crack at here? And what I've tried to do here, in addition to adding that 2-way, 10-day contract tracker, I'm trying to highlight guys that have significant risk based on the recent histories of the teams. And they are going to be highlighted in a blue color on the screen if you're watching, and I'll mention them. But for Yahoo Points Leagues, like when I do my projection, Tristan Vukcevic comes out really high. It was on display again in the last game, making that 1 3-minute performance incredibly infuriating on Saturday. So if he plays 24 minutes, I'm really excited about what he's going to bring. Now Keyshawn George is out. Does he play at the 4 as well? That could be great. But they could also just say no. Nope, he's playing 4 minutes today. Richaun Holmes is back. By the way, they play the Pacers on Thursday in the second half of their back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if they go, we're going to lose this one anyway. Let's give the veterans a little bit of a crack at things. Let's see what Holmes can do. Vukcevic, you sit down on Thursday. I feel like that is maybe what happened on the weekend, and it might happen again Thursday. So he's risky. Adem Bona to me is not as risky. I know he's not as good of a player, but I think that he is relatively secure in terms of getting 21, 22 minutes. I don't think he's going to get a random 0. So I think he's secure. Jared Butler, not secure. 35 minutes, 22 minutes. Could be. Who knows what they do with Doughton? They could start Hood Schifino. They are going to be an incredibly rude to us team this week, the Sixers. I put Payne / Juice McBride. I do not expect that McBride plays on Wednesday. Therefore, Payne is in that spot. But if McBride does play, then he's the guy that we stream, and Payne is not, because McBride's only 21% rostered. I've got Aaron Nesmith there. There's very little risk of him getting benched or doing nothing. The other one there is Ricky Council. Now, Council probably moves back to the bench with Grimes returning. He could have 30 minutes. He could play 17. He could shoot 12%. He could shoot 50. These are the range of outcome superstars. Superstars is a very, very rough word, obviously. Not accurate. For ESPN points, it's a similar sort of list. I've got Jared Butler up the top there. His numbers project a little bit better, but it's risky. I've got a Adem Bona there, Tristan Vukcevic, the Payne Juice McBride duo. Aaron Neesmith, and then I've got Ryan Rollins. And why is Ryan Rollins risky? A, Dame maybe does play. B, maybe it's the time that Kevin Porter gets the minutes over Rollins. I don't know. Rollins has got him over Porter 2 of the 3 games, and he's started all 3 games, so that gives him a leg up, but it could easily just be Porter time. And it's hard to look at that and feel super confident with it. But the last name on these lists for these points league streams are guys that are under 5% rostered. They're for the deeper leagues, they're for the double onyxes, they're for the guys that are just sitting available everywhere that you can take a look at and not really be too worried about it. We'll come back and talk category league streaming, the way that we do it. Here we start with some points and threes. Who are we looking at in this one? Gary Trent Jr. has got to be up the top. I am not a Gary Trent guy. I know you're aware of that. But at the moment, the minutes are up, and that gives me more safety in his floor. If Lillard does play, he would move down this list, but I'm good with him here. I am, for this category league thing, just going to work on the assumption that McBride is out. But you've heard me talk already that McBride and Payne, it's obviously a McBride in, Payne's not useful, McBride out, Payne is here. Payne is always here. That is the reality of our lives. Cameron Payne, Gary Trent, 2 points and threes, guys. And then we've got the risky Tristan Vukcevic. I think he gets 20 minutes. He could play 27. He could play 10. I don't know. Bob Carrington, on the other hand, is more risky in his level of performance, but I think his role is sort of secure. Because I think they're well aware that when Bob Carrington goes out there, he's going to suck. That's the reality of rookie point guards. He sucks. He continues to suck. He hasn't, which is a little worrying, he hasn't really improved as the season's gone on, but I think his role and minutes are pretty safe. Jamison Battle is also risky because the Raptors are going to do random stuff. Is he starting? Barrett is back. Does Barrett play 25 or 20 minutes? Does Battle play 30? Does Abaji start? Battle's in a real shooting slump as well, but he can hit 3 or 4 threes. It's risky. Whereas Ryan Dunn, the last time on that list, you don't think of Ryan Dunn as points and threes, and imagine saying that after watching him in college. Yeah, I'm going to get my points and threes out of Ryan Dunn. It's insane to think that. Now, he is a lowly rostered player who should be rostered in more spots. He's getting 30 minutes a night most nights. Beal is still out. But he can get a double-digit score a night. He can hit 2 or 3 threes. He's the most impressive thing about Dunn and the shooting this season has not been that they've gone in, but the fact that he's taken them, because he just never did. And that is actually a credit to Budenholzer to get the confidence there in Dunn to shoot him. For assists and steals, I put in Campaign there. There is some risk with him, but of course, it's an obvious one. It's not that if old mate McBride is out, that Payne is going to just randomly play 5 minutes. That's not a risk. It's just we've got to check on Juice's status. I've got Jared Butler there, who is, I probably should have had him highlighted with the risk color there as well. Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter, obviously there's risk in those guys. Part of the reason why I didn't put Butler with the assists and steals risk level is even if he doesn't play 33 minutes and he plays 26, I still feel good that he can get 6 assists and 1 steal. It's more that the scoring and the overall other counting stats are more influenced by the self-branded hat legends rotation decisions. Rollins and Porter, again, could split minutes. They could both get 6 assists even in those split minutes, so that's why they're there. Jamal Shed, quickly's out. We've seen Shed be benched once before in a game they wanted to lose. I think that they will play him more, but again, I'm not as worried on the risk of Shed. It's still there, obviously, but he should be getting big minutes with quickly out. And Timothy John McConnell, who's not a high upside player, but a pretty safe floor guy in getting assists and steals in for Indiana. For boards and blocks, I've got Adem Bona and Day'Ron Sharpe. Pretty secure floors at 18 minutes or so. Could push to 25 very easily. So the risk of them is that I'm probably projecting them at their downside, and it could go higher. So they still come out pretty well. So that to me, that's a nice little area to target. Then we get to 3 really risky ones. Tristan Vukcevic, we've talked about his risk a million times. And then it's Orlando Robinson. Now, Poeltl is out. Castleton has not been signed. Their center depth is those 2 players on the screen, Orlando Robinson and John Mobo. That is it. They are their centers. Now, they could make a change and they could sign another center. Right? But I don't know. At the moment, it's Robinson and Mobo. And then for boards and blocks, an out-of-position guy who's available everywhere is Ryan Dunn. So he's an option there for you as well. And then lastly, we look at percentages. Adem Bona, Luke Cornett, under the assumption Jayson Tatum is out, and Day'Ron Sharpe. And for free throw percentage, that was field goal percentage if I didn't say that. Free throw percentage, Cameron Payne, Jared Butler, and Richard Council IV. And that's it. Imagine what a dick council is like. Interesting discussions. All right, that is the end of the show. That is time for you to subscribe if you didn't do it already, or at least thumb up the video. Come on, we can get that one in. I want you guys to focus on your teams, but if your teams aren't playing, and I asked this question, I said, Blake, why is anyone watching at this point if their teams are out? And people have responded that they are, which again, shout out to you, legends. And then I realized to myself, Josh, you listen to like 5 fantasy baseball podcasts a day, and I haven't played fantasy baseball in 13 years. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. Now I get it. So I do appreciate you guys as I'm sitting here the whole time going, I wish people would watch even though they were eliminated. They probably won't. There's no point. And as I sit here and listen to Frank and Chris on CBS and and Derek on Rates and Barrels, and I listen to all these guys and Matt and Dom and Locked On Fantasy Baseball. I listen to these guys, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't even play. What am I doing, guys? We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.